that's part of it. But I think that, this eugenics ideology that you point out is making a comeback has its antecedents in a lot of these groups in elite Britain in the early 20th century and also late 19th century and also in the United States. And they sort of came together. But a lot of influential people were members of those. So, for example, the science fiction author H.G. Wells was one of these prominent eugenicists of that era. And he wrote and stated things like, eventually, when this eugenic stuff comes to fruition, the human species is going to split and you're going to have the elite who are intelligent, tall and attractive. And then the lower class is going to be these squat like goblins who are intellectually stunted and cognitively incapable of doing what they can do now. And they eat bugs. What do you know? Yeah. And it seems like they've been sort of leading us on this path. And I don't think it's so much that they're anti-human. They're it is anti-human in the sense that they're not anti-human in the sense about when it's applied to themselves and other elites, but people that aren't part of their club, they view as, worse than dirt. And so the idea is to sort of shape people to become what their twisted vision of the lower classes is, to actually become that like physically and mentally and emotionally. And we're being manipulated into that, unfortunately. And so this explosion of, efforts to sort of, genetically manipulate us and mentally manipulate us with AI, which is reaching unprecedented levels. And Henry Kissinger and Eric Schmidt say on their book on AI that the end result of AI is going to be the people that are dependent on it for algorithms are going to become cognitively diminished to the point that they can't live without AI. And there will be a splitting of the species, just like H.G. Wells says, into the people who are capable of understanding AI and the people who are not capable. And the people who are capable of understanding it are the people that program and develop AI or who sustain the people that program and maintain it. And then the other lower class, the people that the AI acts upon, who are becoming cognitively diminished and will be unable to understand what AI is doing to them and what is happening to them at all. And it's frankly very disturbing. And a lot of these groups, these eugenics groups never really went away. The earliest days of the World Economic Forum intimately tied up with the Club of Rome, which is an outgrowth of this other group called Adela, that was basically trying to take over the entire economic landscape of Latin America. All of these Western oligarchs trying to basically kingmake the oligarchy of Latin America during the mid 20th century, which they did quite successfully. And then they went on to create the Club of Rome. And one of the authors of the flagship paper of the Club of Rome, which was featured very prominently at the early WEF meetings, The Limits to Growth, one of the co-authors of that, a man named Dennis Meadows, is on video saying that if we can't reduce the world population to under 1 billion people, we must impose a scientific dictatorship that controls 8 billion people. So we either depopulate and you have freedom, or we keep population at the same level, but we impose a scientific dictatorship. I mean, they're very overt about it. And a lot of these groups continue on and are intimately involved in the sustainable development agenda. Groups like the Global Footprint Network, which shares an insane amount of board member overlap with the Club of Rome. And as I wrote, in a recent piece with my colleague, Mark Goodwin, who I mentioned earlier, are attempting to impose a carbon market on Latin America right now, built on the Bitcoin blockchain. And they've essentially, they're focusing on the local level, the municipal level, not the national government level, getting mayors across the continent to sign over their protected areas to this group, who are going to turn these protected areas into carbon credits. And then have it be traded by all these entities that don't necessarily have these groups' interests at heart and are tied up with the Club of Rome, which is part of this group that, in the 70s, along with Henry Kissinger, framed the population growth of Latin America as a national security threat to Western nations. I mean, it's absolutely mind-boggling. But unfortunately, a lot of the talking points around sustainable development are framed as altruistic. And I think the reason these groups have been so successful is that they frame themselves as philanthropists and altruists when really they are not. And they do not have our best interests at heart. And so many people are good people, but we have been too trusting, and we are being manipulated now to trust the same people that have been doing this to human society for over 100 years. And if we keep trusting them instead of ourselves and the people we know who are good people in local communities, we are in trouble. We need to stop trusting these people that are being pushed to us and we're being told are our saviors and altruists and all of this. Look at their connections and follow the money, and you will find that is not what these people are, and that is not what these people want.